brothers and sisters, indeed I'm very happy coming here. Also to share some of my sort of thoughts, and also great honor is to open that picture. That was a drawing, painting.
The portrait.
But that not sort of not like his face, but anyway, that's good. So, as you mentioned, George Fernandez, since many years,
Mike call you something. This shit.
Like it's working.
So as you mentioned, since many years, we become a very close friend, and I appreciate not only our friendship and his support about Tibetan struggle, but also his, I think, I don't know what proper word, something like his sort of personal style, right? Personal style. Even when he become defense minister, usually some minister when they go different places, it's more more elaborated way, and also their home. So during his sort of the ministership, one day he invited in his own, I think, official residence. No police guard there, nothing except big dog. I think two or three dogs. So that's a little bit afraid. And we lunch together. Then afterwards, usually I always take care of my teeth after lunch, after meal. So I went in his bathroom. So what an old his clothes, simply piled up. And somebody told me he himself is washing these things. So I think really as a fighter for working class people's right. He himself, you see that kind of sort of lifestyle. Oh, wonderful. Now his body very, very weak. At our last meeting, he came to Dharamsala. Actually, we invited and met some Tibetan physician. That's our last meeting. Now his physical condition, I was told, very weak. But I am sure his spirit, his sort of, I think, the fearless sort of spirit, I think his friend will continue. I often telling my Indian friends, although you got independence this is in 47, so still India need some kind of spirit during freedom fight, fearless and selfless, selfless, that spirit really need this country. Of course, many other countries ought too. Otherwise, those real sort of, a person who really have sort of this fearless, selfless sort of spirit, they remain a little bit sort of relax, rest. And some little bit peculiar people then they come to sort of say power, these things, then obviously these corruptions happen. There's a Tibetan saying, if because of the higher people who are in the higher position, taking bribe, these things, then lower people have to follow some bribes, right? What's that? What's it?
People in higher position, if they do not keep some sort of limits to corruption, then those who are low down there would have to do something about that also.
But still, comparatively, I think this country, it is still better because independent judiciary and sort of free the media. So just this morning, I mentioned today as a meeting, the Hindustan Times organized. So I mentioned wherever I sort of meeting with media people, I always telling them the media people should have long nose, almost as long as like elephant nose, and should smell everywhere. And the front, everybody try to nice. Must smell what is going on behind. That's very important. Provided honest, unbiased, truthful, objective. Through that way, thorough investigation and what is happening must inform public. That's very important. So that's the sense. You see, there's some individual without sort of spirit of self-discipline, then the media people should make clear all this wrongdoing. So in any way, you see this country comparatively better. So now my talk, because a human approach. Firstly, what is human being? Of course, human being is one of the thousands of different sort of mammals. And also human being, a kind of social animal. There are many different species of social animal. We are one of them. But now unique thing about human being is human intelligence. Human intelligence is source of progress and also source of, I think, mobilized, organized violence. Of course, some monkey may have some ability to mobilize their own group, but human being, we have sort of very ability to organize. That's why in human history, concept of war developed like that. So we have very special sort of intelligence. Yeah. So now, I think with human intelligence, they organize, or sometimes I think, I feel legalized violence. That is war. And one individual person killed one person, we call murderer. But if some people, through well-organized forces, and killed thousands of people, and sometimes we call hero. Actually, the great murderer, but we call hero. So, last century, 20th century, according to historian, that century, through violence through war, the number of people who killed through war, the number over 200 millions. So I often used to telling people, there is such immense sort of violence, including using nuclear weapon. If, you see, through these violence, you see, brought some positive result on this planet, then there may be some sort of justification. That's not there. I think beginning of this 21st century, some unhealthy sort of violence, unhealthy things will happen because due to 20th century sort of too much violence, and also I think negligence about other sort of value. So I often telling people, sharing with other people, 20th century becomes century of bloodshed. Through our own experience, past experience, now we must build. This 21st century should be century of dialogue. So that is the human way of approach. Because basic nature of human being, I believe, more gentleness. Because, you see, the way we born and way we grown up, brought up, mother's affection is the key factor to develop properly, physical as well as emotion, mind. So obviously, we can notice, we can see those people who received maximum affection at the time of very young age, and deep inside these people, more sort of feeling of safe. And those people who lacks at that time, affection, mother's affection, worst thing, abuse. Then no matter how educated or because of wealthy person, in deep inside, some kind of sense of insecurity. So as a result, the people who receive maximum affection when they are young, they have more ability to show other affection, compassion. Those people who receive much less sort of affection at the time of highly necessary affection, so these people, the whole their life, is it difficult to show other real sort of sense of concern of others' well-being. So, biologically, our body started that way. So today, biologically, those people who often develop anger, hatred, fear, their body or their mental state much sort of restless and much pain, and then physical also. You see, they very harmful. Some scientists actually say the constant fear, anger, actually eating our immune system. So other hand, so keep more compassionate mind, sense of concern of others' well-being, more concern of others' well-being. The person's deep inside more inner strength, more self-confidence. Through that way, that person can conduct openly, transparently, speak honestly. Through that way, genuine friendship can develop. After all, we are social animals. Cooperation is very important. Cooperation based on friendship. Cooperation by force may not go well. Cooperation with sort of friendship, trust. Friendship based on trust. Friendship cannot develop, never develop on the basis of suspicion, distrust. So therefore, we basically, gentle nature, because biologically our life start that way. So when we face some problem, some disagreement, with human feeling, meet them, listen their complaint, and talk our view, and make compromise and mutually good solution. That's the human way of approach. Some disagreement, then relying using force. Actually, the very nature of violence is unpredictable. Once you involve violence, then unexpected consequences often happen. And then today's another new reality. You see, the national boundary is now almost irrelevant in economic field, environmental issues, or some other field. You see, the oneness of entire nearly 7 million human beings, now it becomes more alive, right? More clear. So, according to that reality, destruction of your enemy, your neighbor, claim enemy, so actually your neighbor, so destruction of your neighbor is destruction of yourself. That's clear. So according to new reality, now the using force is outdated. So I often telling people, now our ultimate sort of goal should be to demilitarize the world. Then, as you mentioned, I think billions of money which is spent for these weapons, and including nuclear weapons. So actually, nobody there using nuclear weapon, but still, because of stockpiling, very expensive. So waste of money. I think some experts, you see, when they mentioned every year on this planet, how many the billions of money to spend on armament, really unthinkable. Meantime, there are the poverty problem, because of the poverty on this world, still a lot. The gap rich and poor, not only global level, but also national level. One time in Washington, one public sort of meeting, I expressed Washington, the richest nation, its capital, but suburb Washington, many people very poor. So this gap, rich and poor, is not only morally wrong, but practically source of problem. So there's a lot of money just to spend for useless. Right? Nobody there really war, but meantime preparing war. It's contradiction. So I think we should make effort. Firstly, abolishing nuclear weapon. Of course, some talks now coming. That's very fortunate, very good. Now still, with public level, we must make every effort, step by step, and eventually our goal should be demilitarize the world. Now, for that, in order to carry external disarmament, first we must start here, internal disarmament. Try to try to educate people how sort of harmful these destructive emotion, as I mentioned earlier, and how much sort of positive effect for our health, for our mind, for our family, these positive emotion. Not through religious sort of
Religious doctrines.
religious not relying on religious quotation, but simply using our common sense and common experience, then scientific sort of finding. Through that way, we can educate people in order to be a healthy body, healthy mind, should realize the real destructive force is within ourselves on emotional level. Then also, sometimes I telling particularly ladies, so a lot of money spent for what we call cosmetic, isn't it? So cosmetic thing, making external beauty. The long run important is inner beauty. Those sort of beautiful lady, apparently very beautiful, but inside not very lack of inner beauty. Then within a few weeks, quarrel will start, isn't it? I often is telling one story. In early 60s, one former Tibetan monk official, eventually he disrobed. Since I know him very well, so I tease him, your wife, not that much attractive. Then his answer is, face not much attractive, but her sort of person is very beautiful. Then I have no answer. I have no further argument like that. So the inner beauty is more important, more crucial than external sort of because of the beauty. So I think since we spend a lot of money for external beauty, so I think really worthwhile pay more attention about our inner beauty. Isn't it? Like that. So through education, through awareness, some pay attention about our inner sort of change, emotional level, some change. So usually, you see, we take for granted anger, hatred, we take for granted it's part of our mind, part of our life. That's a mistake. I think nobody say ignorance is part of our life. Nobody says that. When we start learning ABC, the full ignorance. But we never take for granted, make effort, years, from kindergarten up to university. Sorry, PhD. So years, you just spend to study. Then the ignorance reduce. You know one subject, for example, as soon as you learned ABC, the ignorance of ABC disappear. That's a way to change our mind. Similarly, emotional field also. Pay more attention with conviction, affection, forgiveness, tolerance. These are very useful for my own sort of interest, my own health, including my own health. More pay attention, then naturally these negative, destructive emotions gradually reduce. And these positive emotions can increase through training of mind. Certainly you can do that. There's nothing to do with religion. That usually I call secular way. So now today, in order to create century of dialogue, that's the human approach. Whenever we see some differences, according human sort of capacity, human nature, more gentle. Through that way, try to find a solution. That's the human way of approach. So in practical level, our Tibetan problem also is we are trying to find solution which is mutually agreeable solution. We're totally against violence. So that actually the human approach or dialogue we actually implementing as far as our own sort of cause. So because ourselves is a totally committed human way of approach this problem. So we also had this sort of proudly to speak like Palestinians or Israelis and some other. They both sides take sort of strong sort of position. It won't help. Since 48, now this problem remain, and a lot of innocent people killed and suffer. So I think on global level, I think we should promote spirit of dialogue. So you are, and you are a small organization, but you also, everyone have this sort of potential, right, to make contribution. As we mentioned, 15,000, isn't it?
50,000.
15,000. 50,000. 50,000. You start a small amount of money and grow. And remember at that time, 3, isn't it? You mentioned. Some like that. Some truthful, sort of really meaningful sort of activities can increase. Look, I think these great teachers like Buddha Shakyamuni or Jesus Christ, sort of one single person. Yeah, see, they are sort of from their own experiences. You see, sharing with more people get benefit through that way. You see, increase. So sometimes we feel the problem of the world, of the global level, so many problems, and feel oneself individual, something was a feeling of helpless. I think that's a mistake. I often telling people, world belongs to people. If you want to change world, people should start, should make effort. When we say people, combination of individual. So ultimately, initiative must come from individual. 1 person, 10 person, 100 person, 1,000, go like that. Then, I think later part of 20th century, I think some positive development happened because of popular, peaceful movement. Like that. So these are the examples. We can change. So with self-confidence and optimistic attitude and work hard. Like that. So that's my talk.